It's really interesting being at this conference because I grew up in New York City, so I know New York really well, and I know New Yorkers, and the people running this conference are so warm and generous and huggy that it reminds me of the time I spend at Burning Man every summer. I gave a TED talk at Burning Man. That was really fun. No one was wearing any clothes except me. It was really great. I loved it. And I have to do things like that because my office has sort of become like an Army field hospital. So here are just some recent ones. Parents came in, their preschool son goes to a zero tolerance for biting preschool. This is true. And the parents had formed a vigilante group. They were threatening to pull their children out if this young boy was not removed from the school. And I thought, what do you want him to do? Meditate? He can't even talk yet. Then there was another set of parents who came in because their 6-year-old son, Finn, had kissed his best friend, Jackson, twice. And everybody, it's amazing, in 2019, everybody was in a panic about this. And I said to the parents, look, just let's forecast ahead. If Finn keeps doing stuff like this, the outcome is going to be that for sure, I said this to the mom, you are going to like Finn's husband or partner a lot better than you would ever like a daughter-in-law, right? It's true. She has so many opinions about food, exactly the right food, maybe even vaccinations. Scary person, that daughter-in-law. Finn's partner, delightful. So a mom came in despairing because her 15-year-old daughter was refusing to go to law camp this summer, coming summer. And I said to her, I love you. I love you because I never dreamed in my whole life that I would hear the words law and camp right next to each other. And then someone would give me money. Like, this is a great deal. I'm very happy. So remember when you got your report card? I had a mom come in. She had changed her daughter's report card grades because she felt the teacher didn't understand her daughter's learning style just right. She didn't understand exactly what math dyslexia was. So she changed the grades before the daughter saw it, and it reminded me of what we used to do. Like, you could change a D into a B pretty easily, and your parents didn't care that much anyway. Like, think about your dad. Did he know right at the top of his head what grade you were in at every moment? I don't know. 5th? He wasn't worried about it. And if a kid was not talking like that biter in preschool, by the time they were 2, parents were happy because the child was quiet. Now, I've been working with families for 35 years, and I do want to say that when I started in the field, we knew so little. We had one diagnosis, pervasive developmental disorder, and 2 drugs, Ritalin and Thorazine. Thorazine is an antipsychotic drug that we would give to little kids, like little boys who were too wiggly, and then they would walk around. It was not a good thing. But I will stand over here as a responsible clinical psychologist and say that we have gone out of our minds. because we forget that every single thing in childhood is a phase. The good stuff is a phase, and the bad stuff is a phase. I had a mom come up to me at book signing line, and she said, Dr. Mogel, our son is a certified genius. And I couldn't help myself, because at that point in the evening, I sort of have an impulse control disorder, tired. And I said to her, don't worry, honey, it goes away. Just wait for Algebra 2, gone. So I'm talking about good parents gone bad. Good intention, loving, devoted parents. And one of the reasons that parents are so crazy is that we have too much information. We have anything that scares parents is fantastic clickbait for our little addicted brains that are attached to our devices. Does anybody here look at The Onion? Yes, good, okay. I want later, everybody, look at The Onion. The Onion is a source of fake news headlines, and comedy these days is really the moral philosophy of our age. It's amazing. I mean, I'm so old that I remember when stand-up comics said things like, take my wife, please. That was like pre #MeToo. They could say that. But now we have Wyatt Cenac. We have just amazing commentary on our world. But the short version is you just have to look at The Onion. So here's an Onion headline. CNN holds morning meeting to decide what viewers should panic about for the rest of the day. And then parents have, so the schools have these web portals where you can look and see your child's grade on a quiz before the ink is dry, before the child knows about it. And one mother said to me, oh, Dr. Mogel, I'm so addicted. She said, I keep clicking refresh because I can see my son's cross-country varsity national rankings any time of the day or night. And I had a dad in an audience say, I fought with the pediatrician over my son's APGAR score. People know so when a baby is born, they get a score of 1 to 10. This is like SATs and ACTs. It starts at birth. And if they're kind of blue and floppy, and they get a low number. And if they look pink and robust, they get a high number. So he said, from the audience in a Q&A, he said, I fought with the pediatrician over my son's APGAR score, and I won. And I thought, what did you win? This is how you want to start out? But there are also genuine things that parents are worried about. There was a time where you could get a gentleman's C in college and become president. And I'm not talking about the current one. I'm talking about ones a few back. We won't say who, but you know, maybe. And then you could get a job, and the job had benefits that covered your cost of living, and maybe you could even buy a house. And now, and these are real concerns for parents. The parents are afraid of and afraid for their children. They treat ordinary, normal children with perfectly decent prospects like a cross between handicapped royalty and fascist dictators. And they come home from school, and we kind of do this thing that's a cross between a celebrity interview and a police interrogation. So we say in a kind of friendly voice, oh, how was your day? And they know that we're just digging for intel. They don't want to tell you. They made it through the day. It was hard. It was hard. They have to do all this code switching. Do people know what code switching is? So look at the Key and Peele video called The Phone Call, and you will understand about linguistic code switching. Kids in school have to speak a different way to their own friends, to the cool crowd that they're not in, and we're glad, and to their teachers, and it's a lot of work, and they're tired, and they don't feel like telling you all about it to reduce your anxiety. So I will tell you the magic sentence that you can say, those of you who have children, that you can say when you pick them up from school and they will tell you about their day. You say to them, first of all, you are not looking at your phone. You're looking for your child or at your child, and you are smiling. And you say, I thought about you today when? And then you fill in even their most extremely superficial interests. Anything that lights them up. I was talking to some parents in Chicago, and a mother said, all my son is interested in is Fortnite, nothing else, nothing, only Fortnite. I said, only Fortnite, only Fortnite. She said, oh yeah, also the Revolutionary War. What? The Revolutionary War? Yeah. She said, he knows all about flintlock muscle-loading muskets. He does. He does. That lights him up. And we're not going to talk about guns right now. We're going to talk about the enthusiasm of children and how it shifts over time and how that is the magic that Anthony was talking about. That we have to be captivatable. That we have to be enchanted with their enchantment. So, I've been in practice for 35 years, and I have been on the road for 20. And in that 20 years, flying has gotten much worse. So you're in this tube, dark tube, all the shades are closed. The pilot is not saying anything to you about crossing the Grand Canyon because nobody can see it. And everybody, no one looks at anyone next to them in case that person would talk to them. Had their headphones on in a sort of catatonic state. The only time the poor flight attendants, who actually the bottom of their feet hurt from the turbulence, the only time they smile at you is when you're disembarking. Have you noticed that? Big smile. They're so happy everybody got through without the plane going nose down or some physical fight. So then they smile. And then I get to my hotel. Person, place, and thing. Hotels have gotten so much better over the last 20 years. Restaurants and hotels have evolved into an oasis of comfort and graciousness in a way that they never were in the past. And there's like the pillow fairy came and she put down a couple of pillows. We're all suffering from the paradox of choice. So you think about the kind of soap you want to buy when you're in the market and there are 700,000 pieces of soap, different kinds of soap, but in the hotel there's just one great soap. You didn't have to pick it out. Also, if you're a woman business traveler, there's no husband or dog hair or dog. There you are in your heavenly bed. And everyone is happy to see you when you check in. It's just about the only place where you arrive and the person is not looking up from a cell phone and you don't feel like you're interrupting them. So I noticed I have this really funny emotional tic, which is after my lecture, when I go back to my hotel room, and I never know I'm going to do it, and I do it every single time, I say, "Hello, sweetheart." I feel like sort of a nut saying that, but I do. I'm so happy. And I was talking to Anthony about this, and he said something that I thought was really brilliant. He said, when you do that, do you imagine the work that goes on behind the scenes, the discipline and thoughtfulness that makes me feel so good in my space? All of you in the hospitality industry are parents to the public. So if my office is filled with people who are hurried, worried, and weary, that's who you are greeting in your restaurants, in your hotels, in any hospitality venue. You are welcoming people who are pretty fried. And I'm going to say to you what I say to the parents, and I was looking this up last night because I couldn't remember if it was the golden rule or Moses or Jesus, and it turns out it's all of them. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And what I say to the parents is, do to yourself what you want your children to do to others. We have sort of turned self-care into more workism. So we take care of ourselves so that we can work even harder. We are all working so hard, and we're so serious, and we don't laugh. Anne Lamott, the wonderful author, calls laughter carbonated holiness. When you see a movie in a theater, I know that's a radical concept, all the mirror neurons of everybody in a theater are firing away at the same time, and people laugh and cry more than they would otherwise. We also have to get outside. There's a wonderful Norwegian word, friluftsliv. I hope no one here is Norwegian. I bet I pronounced that wrong. It means open air life. Shinrin yoku, Japanese for forest bathing. We need to sing. So people in memory homes, people who have dementia or Alzheimer's, who haven't spoken in weeks, if you play the music that was popular when they were young, they will very, very often start to sing, start to smile, and talk again. Singing, dancing, goofy. I say to every parent who comes to me with an anxious child, the first thing I ask them is if the child flushes the toilet, because there's a really fascinating correlation between kids who don't have any real chores to do of any sort except get spectacular grades in school and be really popular and a great athlete, and for the girls look extremely, there's something called Instagram dysphoria. So they have to match their looks to those phony filtered pictures they see of their friends on social media. So I ask them if the kids flush the toilet, but I also say, do you have any pet names for your children? And mostly they say no for about 1 second, and then they say, oh yeah, I do. We need to display silly affection to each other. I'm going to give you some advice from the great blues man, John Lee Hooker, who said, one night I was lying down, this is a lyric to one of his songs. I heard Mama and Papa talking. I heard Papa say to Mama, let that boy boogie woogie. Let that boy boogie woogie because it's in him and it's got to come out. Couple of Onion headlines just to get you started. Parent sees creative control of third grade art project. Daily spin class only thing keeping mom from driving car full of kids into the ocean. Mom's fears about daughter leaving for college channeled into fight about storage bins. That's profound, right? Isn't that profound? And finally, more colleges offering dick around abroad programs. Thank you very much.